you have like employee resource groups that are geared towards Black folks. You also
Mhm.
have employee resource groups that are geared toward queer folks. The cross section can be hard to really like hit very well.
Yeah.
And so what I found is that I felt invisible a lot of times because I would pour into like black, black centering sort of activities and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I never really felt like I was also seen as being Black and queer.
Hey, just bring your jacket cause the balls get cold.
Welcome back to the Computer Keys channel. I am Marquise, and today we're back with another episode of the My Tech Story interview series. This is something I started to show that there's a lot of different lanes you get into under this tech umbrella. So today I got Dwayne with me. We connected through Instagram, which is like most of my interviews now. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna start off with like getting to know a little bit about you. So you don't gotta remember everything I named, but I'll keep you on track. So I want to
Okay.
start with your name, your age, location, hometown, race or ethnicity, some fun facts about you, and then some interests outside of tech.
All right, let's go.
All right.
So my name is Dwayne Sands. I'm 40 years old. I live in Los Angeles, California, and I was born in Ulm, Germany. So military brat. I have moved around a lot. I've been in LA for 7 years, California for 7 years, and I was in New York before that.
Okay.
A little bit, tell you a little bit about me. Before I finished my degree, I had a short stint as a pro esports player. And so I played competitive fighting games. My specialty was the Tekken series. So I'm very happy. They just had a release of Tekken 8 like 2 days ago. So I've been on it. I'm cracking out. But yeah, fighting games. And after I finished, and got into work, I also found that I had a passion for social justice. So I try to pour my energy into that when I'm not otherwise working. And back to the tournament thing, I ran a couple tournaments actually recently, which was a big goal for me over the past year. So in conjunction with another event series, I got to run 2 video game tournaments. So
you said a couple of things that I want to double back on. So you said you're 40?
Yep, I'm 40 years old.
Yeah, I never would have guessed 40. You look good.
Thank you.
For sure. So you said that you've been living there for 7 years. You're from Germany, but you don't have like an accent or anything. So
yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
I am. I was American born. I was born on American soil to parents in the military. So I went to Department of Defense or DOD schools until about 6th or 7th grade. So I grew up speaking German, speaking English. English was, primary language, but I had a lot of chances to use my German. And when I got back to the States, it was like I was like 11, and so I had less of an accent, I want to say, when I got here, but it wasn't anything serious. So over time, that goes away.
So, well, for one, are you still fluent in German?
Jawohl, ich spreche Deutsch. Das ist meine Sekundensprache.
I mean, it sounds good.
Yeah. So I said yes. German is my second language.
Wow.
So.
That's pretty cool. I minored in Spanish, but I never use it, and I'm like extremely rusty right now. So I always admire people that can speak, that second language is really impressive to me. I mean, I kind of consider coding other languages to make myself feel better, but that's really cool. So there was something else you said. That you spent some time in New York. So once you came back, once you moved back here at 11, where did y'all settle?
Yeah.
Were y'all like around the country or what?
So we ended up on some military base, Langley Air Force Base in Southern Virginia. So that's like the 757 Hampton Roads area, Tidewater. And that's where we remained through my like middle school, high school, and college. And after that, my parents were were from New York. And so I had a lot of experience visiting New York, and it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of my dream to live there.
Okay.
So I immediately, as soon as I could, I had like a short stint in the Midwest, but I went to New York for 6 years
Mm.
and then to LA now for 7.
So, you moving to LA, is that tied to your tech journey? Like, did you move out there for work, or was that more of a personal thing?
It was definitely a combination. I think I
Mm.
was very curious about the West Coast. I had some exposure to it through video games. It was always the magical land where they still had arcade machines and they had huge followings of people that would show up for local tournaments. So it was like, it was like the mythical place.
Yeah.
But it was mostly because as a software engineer, you have a lot more variety of your
Mm.
prospects industry wise if you
Yeah.
are on the West Coast.
Yeah. Now, I want to hear more about that as we get into like what you do and everything. So I'm glad you brought up the games because that's the other thing I wanted to double back on. You said you were professional esports player. How long did you do that for?
I want to say I was probably most active for maybe like 3 or 4 years.
Mm.
And so when I was playing, I had taken a break in college. I had been playing, I played a lot. I had friends through message boards, and I think around that time, a friend of mine had moved down from Michigan,
Mm.
and he was really, really gung ho about competing, and he really wanted to be one of the best. And so I rode with him,
Mm.
and we ended up traveling the country. I
Wow.
went as far as Texas, drove out there. I had no business getting in a car and driving to Texas. But yeah, I've done it. Lots of driving up and down the East
Mm.
Coast, out to the Midwest, down to Florida. So
Mm.
yeah.
What was the? I don't know if this is too intrusive, but like, what was the money like with that?
Ain't
'Cause
no
I know
money in that.
y'all can. It's not no
Listen, okay.
sponsors or anything.
Look, that whole I feel like that whole chapter came maybe like 2 or 3 chapters after me, right? Like
Oh, I see.
having such a long history in games. Like I'm from the age like where you used to like talk on the message boards, and then like 100 people would show up randomly to an arcade. Nobody knew why they
Mm.
were there, and
Mm.
they would just camp out. No
Mm.
chairs, no projectors. And so at the end of it, it had come to the point where I was leaving that space, and it was starting to become a little more organized. They were starting to like really collect like footage, and start to
Damn.
like digitize, put it on YouTube, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
So do you feel like, I mean, you kind of paved the way now, so that you know how I don't know how familiar you are with like basketball and stuff, but right now a lot of the college players get these NIL deals where they can make money through their name and like their sponsorships and stuff like that. There's college kids making millions of dollars, and I'm
yeah,
sure professional athletes that went through school probably feel some type of way. So do you feel some type of way, feeling like you kind of hit the wave of the esports a little too early to hit those major, you know what I'm saying? Like they getting money doing that stuff now. So like how you feel about
absolutely.
that?
I mean, it's just like a cross section, right? Like my love for the game and
Right.
like me playing at my best against commercialization and all of that with
Mm,
the games, right? And them kind of getting the message and wanting to really come together. I
mm,
peaked before that peaked, right?
yeah.
So I'm a little upset. Like I really love
I
playing
would be
games.
too.
I really love playing them. So it was really hard, but
Yeah.
what can you do?
Yeah. All right. So my last question about that, because that intrigues me. I never met anybody that did that. So have you thought about, or did you ever think about doing the YouTube thing, like streaming or just doing the YouTube gaming stuff?
I did. I think I'm a little too disorganized, and I lose a focus, and
Mm,
so that kind of like you have to be. I recognize that there's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes
yeah.
into that stuff, and so I appreciate y'all, for what you do.
Mm,
Um, like people like you, Marquise, are doing some really big stuff.
thank you.
So I'm a big fan of this kind of work, and I try to highlight that with a couple of different like things that I have worked on in the past, where
Mm,
I try to collect those people who are like pushing a lot of content like that. just into like a simple like blog, and I haven't really touched it in a couple years, but like I try to do what I can.
Yeah. No, when you reached out, it kind of like made my day. You said like summarizing that you like came across my page and everything, like you were a fan of the content. I'm like, yeah, something about like when people not only enjoy the content but like reach out to me, it really means a lot. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. So
Absolutely.
um, outside of like gaming, what are some of your interests? Like before we move into your story, what are some interests outside of tech? Would you say?
I mean, I love like what do you call it? Like fiction, whether it's we're talking about books.
Mm,
Like I read a lot of like spy novels and science fiction novels when I was a kid.
mm,
I love science fiction. I'm a Star Trek, Star Wars person. I've read Thousand Years War. Like I read Three Body Problem. Like I love. I'll read some books. I'll watch some
yeah,
shows, anime, uh, all that. So I'm really like I'm a gamer nerd,
yeah. I
blurred,
was gonna say you sound
whatever,
like it.
all of it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I like that. I game, but my games is more like 2K and stuff like that. I'm not really. I don't know too much about the other type of games, but um,
Uh,
it's something.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
With your 2K gaming, do you play like the player journeys, like where you go through tournaments, like you get sponsors, you do all of that?
Yeah, I'm a numbers nerd, so
Okay.
I'm trying to put up the most absurd stats I can. I love like looking at stats and percentages and stuff like that. I don't know why, but that's literally why I play the game is because I want to put up the craziest numbers. So that I think that's why I gravitate to those games more. Um, but I enjoy like the Spider Mans. Spider Man came out on PlayStation, so I enjoy that. Call of Duties. I used to play Call of Duty crazy when I was in high school. Like I always say, I don't know how I passed 12th grade because I would come home and just hop on blackouts, like for real. So, so
Yeah.
I kind of more gravitated towards like the sports games now, just because it's easy to play those and just kind of lay down or like watch something else, and it kind of like you get the feel for the game. You could kind of just play, so
Yeah.
it's less focus that's required. But yeah, I'm more so in it for the numbers. I would say I love that. Um, but you this is what it was one more question I wanted to ask about that. So you mentioned like the arcades and stuff. Are you into like the typical like the old school type joysticks and stuff, or are you using the
Abs-
controller?
no, I can use a controller, but I prefer an arcade stick. So
Really? Okay.
I have a Victrix arcade stick. It lights up. It's got a cool like monogram of Sagat on it. Like it's pretty sweet.
Nah, that's cool. See, that's like a lost art. I can't really. I'm not too good with that, John. So,
It's
no,
never
it's
too
cool.
late. It's never too late.
I don't know. It might be too late for me. I'm so used to the controllers now. Like,
Yeah. At this point,
but
it's like save your wrists though, because the arcade
yeah,
stick will mess up your wrists. So
yeah, for sure.
stick with the controllers.
But I like that. I like that you have your hobbies and everything. I feel like it's easy for us to try to monetize everything nowadays. Like, so for you to just have something that you enjoy and you just kind of sit in that and everything, I like that. I like that a lot.
That's what's
All right,
up.
so let's get into your story now. So we're gonna start off with what do you do for how long, and then if you feel comfortable with salary or like a salary range type of thing.
I am a software engineer.
Mm,
I have been doing coding in some fashion since actually like internships, and I had a summer job in high school where I was doing like updating a youth website, and so it
mm,
was like very basic like HTML,
yeah,
images, image source, that kind of stuff. That was
yeah.
very I was like a baby, right? Um, but yeah, so I've been doing it that long. But then I got my degree in computer science in 2008, and I have been working in the field ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your current job now as a software developer, have you been at the same company or what?
Uh, yeah, I'm a software engineer. I work for Riot Games. They produce like League of Legends, Valorant, some other titles.
Mm,
But I've been there for like the last 3, going on 4 years. So
okay. So are you like a game developer, or are you more on the logic side of it?
You could say that I'm somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
If you think about games like as being composed of like some building blocks,
Mm-hmm.
some of those blocks are going to be unique because they are specific to one game. However, there's going to be a lot of blocks that are the same.
You can kind of
The
use, yeah.
login experience, the chat, right? The matchmaking, like all of that.
Yeah.
So I work on player logins for username and password.
Mm,
So a player's account is basically like that's my domain. I
got you.
store it, access it, validate it, authorize it, authenticate it. Like that's my jam. That's what we're doing.
Damn, that's cool. Yo, I never met anybody that work on the game. All right, so damn, I got extra questions now. How do I want to do this? Because I want to get into like what you did before that. Because you said you graduated in 2008.
Yeah.
All right, wait. Let me see. So with this game, with the gaming stuff now, cause it's cool because you said you're into the game. So to be able to go into game development is pretty cool. So has this? All right, my fault. I got a little too excited.
It's cool.
So because we're also going to get into like your plans and everything. All right. So before this, has your path so far mostly been in the gaming industry, or did you kind of stumble into this job?
Uh, it happened organically.
Mm,
Gaming industry thing is very new for me to be working within it.
mm,
I always dreamed about working for a video game company. I didn't really know like how that really worked. So when I started my career, I took an opportunity to work in finance.
mm.
And that was the gig that got me into the Midwest for a hot second and then put me in New York. Um,
Gotcha.
and so I worked for JP Morgan. I was working as a developer on some, applications to, make
Mm.
rich people richer. And I got to a point where I was just a little bit over that. And
Yeah.
then I had a short stint as a consultant, still working in finance. Um, and then I looked west, and west is kind of when I got to branch out more into like marketing. I was in the
Mm.
marketing area, so like marketing funnels, all those
Okay.
terrible little clicks on the side of the website, right? And they're like, use this amazing trick to save money, and then you start getting a bunch of phone calls from people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a time in my past, so not too proud of it. Not too proud of it.
So would you say this job now, because I guess because it aligns so much with one of your passions or something, one of your hobbies or something that you're like interested outside of tech, would you say that this job is more fulfilling or more engaging? Like, how do you feel about this job in comparison to the other jobs you had?
It's more enriching. It's more
Good word.
validating, right?
Yeah.
Like it's enriching because, like when I interviewed at Riot, I went to the bathroom. This
Mm.
sounds weird, but they were playing Super Mario Brothers in the bathroom, like
In the
on the
bathroom.
speakers, and I was like,
uh,
"Oh, I'm gonna work here." I said, "Oh, okay, all right, yeah, this is fine, this is fine." But you're just surrounded by a bunch of gamers all the time, and
yeah,
gamers have their own lingo, nerds have their own lingo,
yeah,
and so there are a lot of things that are like a little easier to
mm,
do, and
yeah,
so the space is more, I would say, accommodating, right?
mm,
Of gamers. So I love that. And they also have a lot of money, right? And they really make an awesome environment for you with it, right?
right,
They are invested in making
right.
sure that you are happy. So I notice I like it. It's great.
Yeah, damn, that's what's up. Because you can. I think you kind of got two types of coders. You got people that enjoy coding, and you got people that are good at coding. Like they just know how to code.
Hmm.
Um, they don't necessarily do it for fun. They just do it because it's a job. So I think for those type of people, I think where you're working matters a little more than somebody that just enjoys coding. Because I like to code. I've worked in many different contracts and different industries and stuff like that. But you have the best of both worlds where it doesn't matter if you just like to code or if you're good at coding, you're working with something that you enjoy around people that enjoy the same thing. Like it's
Hmm.
something about that got to make going to work. Like enriching is a perfect word, I would say. Something about that where it's like I'm doing what I love with something that I love. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, that's cool. I like that a lot. So you've been there for 3 or 4 years, um, and you said before, so you graduated in 2008. So coming out of school, what was the process like getting a job? We're going to get into your school later, but like, what was
Okay.
the process like getting a job after school?
Okay, so I've been immensely blessed when it
Mm,
comes to employment. Like
mhm,
it's always either been somebody like told me about something and then I like immediately applied, and for whatever reason like things work out. This in this case, an alumnus from my university, Norfolk State University,
mhm,
was currently working for JP Morgan, and they had a program where they were bringing in like entry level folks into like technology jobs and finance jobs and all kinds of things. And so the opportunity was there. The what do you call it? The recommendation was there.
right.
You know, with someone being like, "Hey, I came from this school. They're good. They do it. They, you know, they'll work." So
Mm,
I got that notice, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll take. I definitely will go and interview." And I interviewed, and it went well. And the guy that interviewed me actually ended up being my manager. So
oh wow.
uh, yeah. So that's, I mean, I had that job that way. And I would say for my other gigs are usually, after JP was a consulting gig, and I think I might have applied to like two different places, and
Mm,
I got a job that way. And ever since then, it's just been recruiters. And they're like, "Hey, are you
yeah,
interested in this? Hey, are you interested in this?
yeah.
Hey," it's constant, man. Yeah, but that's how it happened for me. The
Yeah.
video games thing in particular, recruiter reached out to me. What's his name, Paul, and
Mm.
he's the reason that I ended up there because he said, "I've noticed that you talk a lot about video games in your online presence, and you are an
Oh,
engineer.
wow.
Like, let's put the two together."
Yeah.
Have round of applause. Yeah, landed it.
That's perfect. And it also speaks to the importance of if you're going to be online, what type of online reputation, I guess, for lack of a better word, are you trying to portray? So you
Hmm.
showing that side of you allowed the recruiter to be like, "Yo, I got this position that might align perfectly with what you like." Yeah, I get recruiters hit me up all the time. Somebody hit me up the other day, and it's rare to get a job offer or a job, opportunity like that for something that
Yeah,
you would genuinely enjoy. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, but going back to your mentor or your reference, I guess I should say, um, you were, the opportunity came, but it's also you being open to the opportunity too, which I like to see in people.
that's true.
And it's crazy that because you mentioned that you had to move right to I guess to the Midwest.
Yes, I had to take that opportunity to move to the Midwest. So
Yeah,
there were different places where they were based, and then there were also a subset of those that they were like filling for. And so
gotcha.
it was
Yeah.
like I think it was like Florida, it was Ohio, and I think they were offering New York, but like the word was that they already had people they needed for New
Mm,
York. So it's like
mm.
you could apply, but
Yeah,
Ohio. And I was like, it's cool. It's probably not that bad. And I really loved it. I met some amazing people there. I'm still
mm,
best friends with some folks there. And
mm.
so being open to that opportunity, I was then able to transfer with my job within JP Morgan, get a transfer into New York, salary adjustment. Wasn't a great salary adjustment, but it got me through.
Mm,
And so that job actually got me to where I wanted to go. My
yeah,
long term vision being to get to New York. So
yeah. Nah, that's crazy. Because imagine if he was like, "Nah, I don't want to move out there. I want to stay here, or I'm only going to New York or something like that." If you wanted to be stubborn, and you would have blocked your own blessing because it got you where you wanted to go anyway. So
yeah, absolutely.
I could relate to that a little bit because out of school I did a boot camp and it moved me down to Virginia actually. So I was in Northern Virginia. I was in like Alexandria, Herndon area over there.
Hmm.
Um, so my first 2 years working was out of state. I did a boot camp in Virginia and then I moved to Maryland. I was working in Fairfax for like a year and a half basically. So I could relate to that, and that's why I kind of noticed the willingness to jump to an opportunity, when it's put in front of you and everything. So I fuck with that for sure.
Yeah, if you're not open to it, like you will miss your opportunities,
Mm,
right? Like straight up. And I even, I have to eat my own words sometimes. Like I'll say no, I can't. I just.
right.
But every time I say yes, it's usually good. I say
Yeah,
every time sometimes, but no, it's usually
yeah,
good.
yeah. I agree. Just be open to them opportunities. You know what I'm saying? You never know what could come out of something. And I'm a firm believer of that. So let me see where we at. Okay, this I was curious about, and this is why I said I was like getting a little ahead of myself. So you talked about the gaming and everything, um, and it seems like that's always been like an interest of yours. So was tech always in your original plan, or was it? Hold on, let me see. Yeah, was tech always in your original plan, or was it something along those lines, or like how did that work?
Uh, I mean, I think gaming showed up like pretty late into my schooling.
Mm,
Like I was, rounding out high school when I really started getting heavy into games, and so I had long time thought that I would go to school for like international relations, and I was
mm,
going to work for the government, or I was going to be a diplomat, or I was going to join the FBI or one of them other three-letter agencies, and I just had this vision of like who I was going to be. Um, and then it came time to look for scholarships, and I went where the money was. And the money was like computer engineering, computer science technology. I went to a science technology high school, so I was like, it's a perfect fit. Like,
mhm.
let's do this, and it worked out. It worked out really well. So,
That's cool. So I guess growing up, what were your interests? Some of your interests there, because you mentioned you were looking into being like a diplomat or something, and then you
oh
mentioned
yeah,
I forgot what words you used earlier, but I'm going to look at it like being an advocate for others and stuff like social justice, I guess. So
yeah.
is that something that's always been important to you?
Uh, I would say that it kind of came into focus after I moved to New York.
Mm,
The person I was dating at the time, and actually that relationship, transitioned to California.
mm,
Um, that person was very active within Black Lives Matter.
mm.
They were like public relations.
Okay.
They were an expert within the field. I was really, really deeply exposed, and like basically like I got a really fast and deep education
Mm,
on social justice causes. You know, civil rights, activism, lots of like topics, like everything from how to organize an action, seeing that planned out to seeing folks actually elect to take in like healing and restorative practices, right? To
mm.
try and like you have to have a tempo, right, with the
Yeah.
work that you're doing because it will burn you out.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I had this whirlwind sort of experience with it, and so I've walked away from it today recognizing I will I will never shortchange those ideas and those
Mm,
goals. Um, when I have a choice, it's like A or B. Like
mm.
I'm gonna take the social justice route, like, or I'll find a way to hook it in.
Yeah.
So at work, I've done work with like differently abled children in St. Louis who wanted to talk about esports and Riot,
Mm,
and I got the chance to talk to them. But before I did so, I made sure I did my homework. I did my
mm.
research. I
Yeah.
wanted to be sure I could engage them in a respectful and in like
Yeah.
in a knowledgeable way.
Yeah.
So I just feel it's important to be culturally sensitive and really just like to like look out for each other.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like that. Um, so it seems like either way, even though you didn't get to directly go into that field, you still are able to incorporate that in what you do now.
True,
It's,
true, yes.
And so outside of work, I guess, are you in like any organizations or um, social
Uh,
justice, like online communities or anything like that?
I've worked with Color of Change in the past. It's like at the you know um, at their like canvassing level. So
Mm,
we're a bunch of people in a hotel ballroom, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to put together like care packages. Like
mm,
we're going to sit here and put together care packages, and these going to go out to folks who need this stuff." And so doing that kind of work, I got to see how that works, and I have a huge appreciation for the amount of labor and time commitment that
yeah,
goes into that kind of work. Um, and then having seen that, I realized that wasn't the best use of my time to contribute. I think it was more along the lines of like spreading information, engaging like my technical
right,
abilities, and
yeah.
so that's where like the blog comes in. Like I built my like WordPress site. I hosted it. Those hosting renewal fees are crazy too, right? They got me. I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to renew.
No, do it. I
Yeah.
feel like the stuff you're putting together is definitely going to end up helping somebody. So you
Yeah,
know,
but working with different organizations, I would say like one of the organizations I'm most active with right now is Better Brothers LA. They are
mm,
a like an LGBT focused, Black queer men's focused group that is basically putting together support for students who
mm,
fit that demographic. So they're providing scholarships, and they host an awards gala, I think, every year. It's called the Truth
right,
Awards. But working with them, is mostly just showing up and hanging out, but it's also being present, right?
yeah,
They organize a lot of really cool speakers to come. Like I heard, conversations about folks who work within media, and we're very active in standing up for and championing like Black queer rights and just queer rights in
mm,
general and Black rights in general, right?
yeah,
So it's really cool to go into those spaces. I benefit from that, and that's how I choose to spend my time is when I can engage in those things. Even if it's just going hiking with like an all Black men's group. They have Black Men Hike LA, and it's
mm,
literally Black men from all over Southern California coming together, taking a hike. Just
mm,
you get to the top, they have a moment of like
yeah,
meditation. Like I love that stuff, right?
yeah.
You need it.
Nah, that's pretty cool. I've never been to LA, but I need to get out there for sure. But it sounds like you're able to surround yourself with like-minded people, or surround yourself with organizations and stuff like that, and find that fulfillment that you might have was looking for, through your prior career choice, I guess. That's pretty cool. Um, all right, so onto that. All right, so you start looking for scholarships, and you look into computer science, computer engineering, whatever. So um, once you decided on that, where'd you go to school? And I guess what officially what was your degrees in? And then the second part of this question is going to be what do you do to gain knowledge now? But we can start with like the school stuff.
All right. So school is interesting for me. I got a scholarship. I got a NASA scholarship to
Mm,
FAMU. Um,
okay.
I was there for a grand total of 1 year. I completely did not make it. But I took from that experience, right? Like, oh, this is what it means to grow up and be, on your own. Uh,
Yeah.
so that was computer engineering, and then I returned to Virginia and enrolled at Norfolk State University, and that was again as a computer engineer.
Hmm.
And I would say 2 years into it, we got to the point where like electronics classes, differential equations, I think was part of the curriculum, and I just I didn't like where it was headed. And so I was like, I don't think this is for me. Like, is there something else? And they were like, well, computer science is a little different. You might
Yeah.
like that better. And computer science was a good fit for me. Like, I worked better with that.
Mm.
Glad I did the pivot.
So did you? All right, that's a good point. And I don't know if you said this earlier. Do you know like your ethnicity, or I know your folks are from New York. So what's your ethnicity?
I'm definitely black, and I have Afro Caribbean from
Mm.
my grandfather. But the rest of the sides of the family, both my mom and my dad's side, originally came, I think, from South Carolina, and then
Okay,
moved up to New York.
got you. All right. Usually, reason I ask that is because I like to see how people's parents reacted to the pivot. You had the scholarship to FAMU. You came back to Virginia. I've noticed that sometimes the Caribbean or like the immigrant parents, they might be a little more stern about that type of stuff. So, what was your parents' reaction when you had to come back and then end up changing your major?
Um, it you know I think my parents had a lot of faith in me, and
Mm,
I can say that now because I look back and I'm like, I don't know how my mom did it. She was working full time. She was in the military. She had to show up. Like, there is no like,
yeah.
hey, I'm just going to take some time off. I got to take care of my kid. Of course, she would drop everything as often as she could and do that. But um, I was largely, left to, do this myself. I got to live in a house with my brother, who was also, I think, starting, his school, his college career. But
Mm,
I was able to work and go to school and have a roof over my head. I didn't have to worry about, paying for all
yeah.
that, right? So they kind of let me, you know, figure
Yeah.
it out. And so I was very lucky and very blessed to have that. And I came out of school with no debt because my mom put money into Virginia Prepaid Education Program, VPEP.
Hmm.
And so she paid into that. She followed whatever she's supposed to follow. And Virginia basically took her contribution and then handled the rest.
Dang.
And so school is paid for.
Wow. Sheesh.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I start to appreciate it more and more the more I think about it. But it really has changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow, man. I had a scholarship from my elementary school, but I still ended up when I moved off campus, I had a couple of loans from that, and then there was one semester where my scholarship hadn't kicked in yet, and I had to register. So I took out a loan. In hindsight, obviously, I should have just paid it right back. But being young and dumb, I kept the refund money, whatever. So long story short, I got like 18K in loans. For you to come out with nothing, people be having like 60,000, like
Yeah,
100,000. So
yeah,
for you to come out with nothing, man, like sheesh.
yeah. My
Um,
my
Dang.
boyfriend, he talks about his his loan repayments, all of that, all the time, and that's a
Yeah.
constant. That's something you got to factor in. It's like, these are
Yeah.
my bills, and that's a top bill.
Yeah. Yeah. They coming for that bread. If you not paying it, they will like
They're like,
if there
don't
was a
ignore us.
time yeah, the government loans, I came out of school, I started playing dumb. I'm like, man, I don't even know how to pay these off. And then they put my joints right in collections. I had to pay to get them out of collections.
Oh
So like,
man,
yeah, they're not playing with that stuff. There was one more thing I wanted to ask you though about the FAMU thing. So you came back and you changed your major to computer science. Do you
yes.
think if you changed your major at FAMU, you would have been able to stay there, or do you think that being that far away from home played more of a part in your lack of success there? I guess.
I think being away from home made it harder, but
Yeah.
I was processing some additional things.
Mm.
We haven't really talked about it, but like, my other intersectional identity is that I'm gay or queer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so being black and queer means that I got to school and I was kind of just thrown into the wide world, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is a lot. Like I had a, what do you call it, like culture shock. I was just kind of like
Mm,
overstimulated, and going back home was good for me because it allowed me to kind of like take things in like at my own
right.
pace, right? Like if I
Right.
had lived on campus, like
Right.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that culture shock is a good word for that because I went to school. I was staying up all night. I was skipping classes. I'm doing stuff that I never would have did at home because my pop never would have allowed that. But you get to school, you start acting brand new, and then
Yep,
you get them grades back, and it's like, oh shit, I've been drunk.
that's
uh,
exactly what happened.
but now I'm glad you brought up your sexuality though, because I was going to ask about that when we got into this next question. Um, Let me make sure I asked everything I want about this one though.
Oh, you said, how do
Okay.
I gain more knowledge?
Oh yeah. That's the second part.
Okay. All right. So, a couple things that I use. One, books. We'll talk about books. First, I'll talk about the other thing, though. It's like digital stuff.
Hmm.
YouTube, Google videos, or not YouTube, Googling like concepts, then finding
Yeah.
learning platforms that are really specific.
Hmm.
Um, so that's like Udemy,
Yeah.
Coursera, and then
Yeah.
like, the white glove treatment, the pluralsight.com, which is very
Blue
specific,
side. Yeah.
very specific tracks. So
Yeah.
those are really good. And then in terms of books, a lot of technical books like Effective Java, API Security,
Mm.
and a handful of interviewing books, because interviewing is a whole topic unto itself, and
Yeah.
it will really
Definitely.
gatekeep you from a lot of opportunities. And then reading also books that are more like holistic and big brain, like the
Mm.
Phoenix Project, which kind of walks you through what it's like to be in an IT department that is undergoing a rapid change driven by like an economic outside force, right? But it's like they had to basically beef up their technology, right? They had to
Mm.
modernize, and so they had to streamline it. So it basically turns into an agile shop, and that concept is really hard for a lot of people to grasp when
Yeah.
they come out of school, because like they don't have any. School doesn't work that way, right? Teacher's like, hey, so we got like 10 assignments.
Yeah.
I think let's look. I think we're gonna get through 7 of them, so we're gonna drop the other 3. And who wants to sign up for this one? You just need one person do this. No, man. So yeah, it is. It's a definite plus
Yeah.
to
I just
understand
added that. I
Yeah,
never heard of that book, so I just had to add that real quick.
yeah. Phoenix Project is great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read that.
I think there's a follow-on too, but Phoenix Project for sure.
Hmm. Nah, it's good. I haven't gotten too many books on her. People usually say like YouTube, stuff like that. Udemy, those are
Yeah,
like the expected ones. But yeah,
yeah,
thank you. I'm
yeah.
gonna check that out.
Like I got Pragmatic Programmer. Pragmatic Programmer was pretty cool, but it was a
Mm,
little too high level for me. Like it
mm,
was like how to think about programming languages like in an abstract sense. And
mm.
so they use I think it's Pragmatic Programmer, and they use like different language, I think. If I'm wrong, please forgive me, authors. But yeah, I like the books that are real specific and get into the
Yeah,
nitty.
yeah. I'm gonna check this Phoenix Project one out, and
Yeah,
I'll let you know what I'm thinking.
right.
Uh, all right, yeah. So thank you for that. Next, this is probably my favorite question. So that's why I'm glad you brought up your sexuality too. So usually I ask what's your experience as whatever ethnicity, black or whatever. But I also for you, I want to know what has your experience been like as a black gay man? Is gay, you identify as gay, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So as a gay black man, what has your experience been like in this field?
So I wrote it down because it can be really
Mm,
hard. I had to think about this one.
mm,
I had to think about this. Misunderstandings, right?
mm,
There is a lot that is misunderstood because of like differences in culture, right? Like
right.
we're talking about nonverbal cues. We're talking about stress on words.
Yeah.
There were a lot of layers of that I had not been exposed to, that I had to combat or otherwise like learn to get around.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't going to change for me, right? Is
Yeah.
what I realized. So
Yeah.
being misunderstood was a big thing. I felt consistently challenged
Mm.
without the benefit of strong camaraderie or mutual understanding to engender trust and underlying motivation, which
Mm.
boils down to I didn't really believe them when they would ask me, like, are you sure that they were really just genuinely like curious, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was just, they're pushing my buttons a little bit. It was somewhere in the middle, but like, yeah, that really can get to you until
Yeah.
you have a confidence, right, in what it is that
Right.
you have learned and applied, and it's like, no, 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 like
Yeah.
I stand on this. I stand on this. I also feel a lot of times invisible,
Damn.
because there are, being one of the only black people in an office, being one of the only black engineers like in a field, in also then being queer on top of that, right? So you have like employee resource groups that are geared towards black folks. You also
Mm.
have employee resource groups that are geared toward queer folks,
Right.
and so the cross section can be hard to really like hit very well.
Mm.
And so what I found is that I felt invisible a lot of times because I would pour into like black, black centering sort of activities and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I never really felt like I was also seen as being black and queer.
Damn. Yeah.
And then this is maybe a little funny, but also maybe a little angry. Black pop culture references in white Asian spaces,
Yeah.
they free flowing, and these are all absent of actual black like cultural appreciation or promotion, right?
Right.
It's just took it and sprinkled it. They took it and sprinkled it, and they were just like, "Isn't this great?" I was like, you know where that came from?" And they're like, "Not really,
Right.
not really."
Yeah. Damn. All right. Wow. Okay. I like how you broke this down. That's why I'm very happy you prepared how you did for this thing. Thank you. Um. Damn. So I kind of want to go word by word. So what was your first word? I know it.
Misunderstood.
Misunderstood. Yeah. So
Yeah.
as far as like you mentioned like the certain inflections on certain words and stuff like that. I
Mm-hmm.
find myself kind of like when people say the word like ghetto and certain emphasis on black sometimes is a little too emphasizing for me, and it's just like
Yeah.
what you mean by that, like what you mean by this ghetto or something like that, like stuff like that where I'm just like um but then you said you feel that invisibility. I like to look at it like kind of like isolation, but I think
Mm-hmm.
invisible is a good word too, where you're at this cross section, so it's like even if you're in all black spaces, if it's not necessarily majority, queer people or even people that just want to understand and
Mm-hmm.
see where you're coming from and stuff like that, that could be hard. And then if you're in a queer space where it's a majority non-black people, then they're
Correct.
not going to understand you on that side too. So um, I guess my main question, based on everything you said, is do you where do you go to find that community? Is it like the other stuff that you mentioned before that you're interested
Yeah,
in?
correct. I have to
Mm,
supplement it either with just building a network of people in my personal like life, right? We're just talking
mm-hmm.
about friends, and then also colleagues who are just folks who either work at different companies. So
Yeah,
finding like those organizations like Black in Tech,
yeah,
they have a Twitter presence, um, and just efforts like that is where I try to like focus. And so
mm-hmm.
I'm really in it for the community piece, right? I just like being surrounded by a bunch of like-minded people, because then it's like I feel less alone, right? Because
Right,
I feel like they understand me, they can meet me. So
mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you mentioned the pop culture thing, and that's something I'll be missing. Like I always wonder, like, what it would be like if I had somebody from where I'm from, and we could just shoot the shit and like, just kind of understand each other. Because, I work with a lot of Indian people. They'll come around, they'll speak the same language. And it's just like, you could just see the camaraderie there a little bit more than if we were to have that same conversation.
My little heart
So,
just breaking every time I see it. I'm like, that is so beautiful. I want that
right.
for me. I want that for me.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, where's my person that I could just like bust it up with? You know what I'm saying? So, that pop culture part of it, where it's like people are, I guess, trying to relate to the best of their ability, but sometimes I would prefer that you just don't bring up these things because you think it's going to relate to me, just because it's black people on this show or black people singing this song or whatever. Like, relate to me in however we can find, a common interest or something like that. But you mentioned like that, and I immediately started thinking about people asking me about certain things or, expecting me to know about certain stuff. It's like, I don't know. Google it. Like, why are you asking me?
Well, you're not a monolith.
Right.
Just because it involved a black person does not mean that I know everything about it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't want to talk about it. Like,
Exactly.
don't. Pay attention. What did I say? Go from there.
Exactly. Like, get to know me. Don't try to know me as what you deem as a black person or whatever. So I'm glad you brought that up. Like, I figured that experience would be a little different. So I also want to know, as somebody that has moved around as much as you have, what has your experience been like in these different environments and everything?
Um, I'll include Virginia because I was like schooling. It was like my
Yeah.
first jobs and stuff. I was like
Yeah.
retail, waiting tables. And I really I look back on that and I appreciate the amount of interaction with people of color in
Right.
Virginia, which was
Mm-hmm.
really cool. Um, that's not to say that there wasn't a lot of like active like white supremacist systems in the way, right? Whether that's
Yeah.
policing, me
Yeah.
getting pulled over a lot, all of that, But how it gets different is when I moved to New York, like that was dialed up to 100 in terms of being able to have that black cultural experience because it's Afro Caribbean, it's African, right? It's also like American South that moved up there, and so all that together, right? You just feel so good, like walking down the street. You feel more connected than if you were just like walking through a random neighborhood and there weren't any black people. You just don't see them, and so Ohio for me was a little hard because that little stop in the Midwest before I was able to move to New York, I was kind of like, I don't really like this that much.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a little absent. But what I will say is that moving to LA, I have an ease of life that's like not really city life. But I then also find that the black folks are also then a little bit spread out again, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're in the Valley, they're in South LA, they're out in the IE. And there's kind of this concept of like, yeah, we meet in Central LA to do things, but there is not like a whole lot of crossing paths outside of those spaces, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of space where you are like, I feel alone, I feel isolated, but the money's there. There are the opportunities there, right, to find community, and so it just means that I have to be more intentional, right?
Right. That's a good word. Damn, there's one more thing I wanted to ask you about this. Oh yeah, that's what it was. So your job now, is it hybrid? Is it remote? Or are you fully in office?
Hybrid.
Hybrid.
I think we're like 2 or 3 days a week officially. Unofficially, like don't nobody go to the office. You have some people that are the usual suspects, but in general, that office is not filled.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like, because you mentioned, your social justice side and everything like that. So with COVID and everything and how that kind of moved a lot of stuff online in a sense. And then, granted, we are kind of back in office and stuff like that. do you find your communities more so online now, especially since, like you mentioned, LA being so spread out, or more of those connections being made online, or are you still, like you said, being more intentional? So are you like going and trying to find these areas? Would you say?
I feel like it's a combination.
Mm-hmm.
Community is present when I am intentional and go places. Like I went to a brunch earlier today, you know,
Mm-hmm.
after I had like 3, 4 hours of sleep. But like, I was like, I'm not gonna miss it. I will be there. It's gonna be worth it. And
Yeah.
I saw some people that I knew. They were so happy to see me, introduced me to a lot of other people, and so I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciated that. But yeah, it's I think it's mostly like offline for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then there is also like playing games online. Like most of the gaming has really, really. I feel like 2020 really like sent it over the edge.
Yeah.
So my in-person tournaments and gatherings have really started to been affected. So not everybody is running those events that were running them before, and so you're kind of seeing like a sunsetting of like a piece of
Yeah.
like culture there.
Yeah. I mean, it do sound like you got a good balance though, and kind of inspiring me to want to find more community, I guess, because I was lacking some fulfillment, not just at my job, but like kind of professionally, where I was missing these types of conversations with people and being in the office. And there's black people. There's black people I can connect with. When I first started my job, I like reached out to this boy just because we worked at the same job and he was black. So, we kind of connected off of that originally. But doing these interviews has allowed me to really get this extra fulfillment that I didn't realize I was missing by being able to have these type of conversations. And so now you got me like, I make music and stuff too, but I'm still kind of a like reclusive homebody type of person. So, but yeah, you kind of got me wanting to find more communities that might not necessarily have anything to do with my current hobbies, just getting out and like finding that type of stuff. So yeah, I like that. I like that you were able to be like that word intentional. I think that's a perfect word, a perfect way of putting it. I like that. Um, all right, so getting into where we at with it. All right, coming up on an hour. Yeah. So you mentioned FAMU. You mentioned moving around a lot, which I'm curious if that was some bit of type of adversity for you or something like that. So out of stuff that you talked about, your journey in general, what
Mm-hmm.
obstacles or what adversity have you had to overcome?
Uh, I'll start with being black and gay,
Mm-hmm.
intersection of historically excluded groups.
Yeah.
Finding community was a little tougher for me. There's an extra barrier there.
Yeah.
Relocating to the West Coast was really great at getting around what I was experiencing. I was
Mm-hmm.
constantly pigeonholed for government jobs, finance jobs, insurance, and consulting. And if it
Yeah.
wasn't those, then it wasn't a job. And
Yeah.
so moving west kind of freed me from that. Software engineering interviews
Mm-hmm.
are an adversity unto themselves. Uh, I feel like school set me up when they did not prepare me for interviews.
Yeah,
I was
they
like,
don't.
what is this? I was like, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't. They don't. They just throw you out there like good luck, and you get into them interviews. You like, yo, this the type of stuff y'all asking right now. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that.
It's also I felt like another piece of adversity was like I was kind of the kid who was on the conveyor belt, right? Moving through, I'm doing the things I'm
Mm,
supposed to do and
yeah,
taking, the paths that are, set out for me. And
right.
so that lack of self-determination, I feel like actually hurt me in the beginning because I
Damn.
probably would have left finance a lot faster if I'd really just listened to myself, right?
Mm,
So it's wasted time. The last, see, learning self-compassion was also really good because I'm a perfectionist.
mm,
And so that adversity comes in because I'm super critical of myself.
yeah.
So I'm like working and there's always somebody like right over my shoulder and they're just like, nah, you're not doing it right. You gotta pick up the pace, less errors. Come on, let's do this. And so being hard on myself, that makes it harder just
Yeah.
to get through your day.
For sure.
Uh, yeah, but yeah, I feel like those are the major things: self
Mm,
determination, self compassion. Also identity, and then also location. All those things were kind of like I had to get over those things.
yeah. I like how you put that. That being overly critical of yourself and then self determination. I like how you put those kind of together in a way because um, I think being overly critical can sometimes put you in a position where you're scared to do certain things because you don't know if you're going to succeed at them. So if you're determined, your self determination is low, plus your perfectionism is a little too high, then now you're putting yourself in a spot where it's like, okay, I can do this thing. I can do this finance stuff. So let me just push through it. Let me just stick with this, knowing that you don't want to be there anyway. But it's like, I'm good at this. I don't want to try try my hand at this other thing, get my feet wet, and then it don't work or something like that. So, nah, I think that's something I've dealt with for sure. Within myself. Even with something like this, feeling like everything got to be perfect before I start. And it's like,
Oh,
you're never going to start. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had this idea since January last year, and I didn't officially do anything until August. So it was like
oh,
the determination was there, but then that perfectionism was keeping me from trying to do it. You know what I'm saying? So I think being real with yourself helps a lot with that. But then you also mentioned like your identity and like your location and stuff like that. And you know, I feel like I didn't move around a lot. So how would you say that the amount that you've moved around impact, or how much would you say it impacted your identity or your, as you were trying to grow and everything?
um, I've always felt like a man apart.
Hmm.
Because I'm constantly in different places. So
Yeah.
ever since leaving, even while I was in Germany, right? Like being a black
Hmm.
kid in Germany, like I had
Yeah.
some interactions with like the locals. Some great and some not so great. Uh, but yeah, that whole piece is
Hmm.
it's definitely of traveling and constantly moving around. You always have to like make new friends. Like you kind of
Yeah.
just you have to make the best of a situation. But I think there are different ways to go about that. You can be
Hmm.
really active with making the best of a situation, or you can be really passive and just kind of take what's handed to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to find that balance, right? So
Hmm. So, I guess I probably should have asked this earlier, but out of all the places that you lived, where has your favorite place been? Like, where have you felt the most at home? I should say.
East Coast.
East Coast.
I think Virginia and New York combined,
Mm,
like that whole everything in between. You've got the DMV, DC area, um,
yeah,
uh, New York City, New York, of course, Long Island, where most of my extended family is from, and I have like a lot of love for them. So that whole 95 corridor, like that's my sweet spot. I'm very
yeah,
happy there, and
yeah.
I only left because prospects.
Right.
Maybe I
Yeah, I
got a
mean,
resume now, so it'll be a little easier, but
no, I respect the move out there for sure. Like I said, you take them opportunities when they come, and I like that. But I guess my last question about this is, you mentioned the identity as an obstacle, as adversity or whatever. So at what point did you feel like you found yourself, you found your identity, and you were like, this is who I am, this is who I'm comfortable being? Like, at what point did that happen?
um, I feel like it showed up. It started to show up when I felt like I didn't code switching, right?
Mm.
I feel like I was able
Yeah.
to let that go. Like I felt like I was code switching at work. Like during college, I was code switching in my first jobs in finance. Uh, you know, I felt like I was still beholden to like
Mm.
needing to satisfy an image and not to rock the boat and not to want to like stand out.
Yeah.
And so instead it was like kind of like silent and not really, not as engaged in the ways that others around me were.
Mm.
That changed, I think, when I was getting ready to move to California, and actually that move to California, I think really cemented it. Because then it was like, shit, I can do anything. I'm amazing. I was like, I just moved across the country, didn't have a
Right.
job, found a job, like, like I really did it. So I feel empowered now where I'm like, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Nah, I like that. I relate to the code switching thing. I got to a certain point in my career where I'm like, y'all just gonna take me as I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is me. I'm not about to come in here to act a different way to make you more comfortable with my presence. You know what I'm saying? So I like that. I like that you were able to reach a point where you're so comfortable with yourself that you're just gonna be that. You know what I'm saying? It's so much extra stress. You're coming to a job, trying to do your best work, but then you're also putting on this facade, I guess, not fully happy with like this environment. How could you be if you're constantly trying to watch what you're saying, or
Right.
you got something that you want to say but you don't feel comfortable saying it? So it's no way that you could fully be comfortable. So um, that's cool. You moved out there. You got a job that you thoroughly enjoy. It's like everything kind of aligned and worked out. How it's going
Mhm.
to. That's cool. Um, all right, bet. So we're going to get into where you see your journey going from here. So at this point, I like to kind of summarize a lot of your journey. So you've been at this job you said 4 years or 3 years?
It'll be 4 in March.
4 years coming up. So you've been there for 4 years. You've moved and lived all over the place. Um, and you have, a lot of interests within the social justice realm, a lot of communities that you're a part of and everything. So where do you see your journey going 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now in regards to like, that type of stuff, personal life, professional life, whatever?
Um, I want to find a way to put those two worlds together more. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have ideas, about launching an idea of my own, related to finding ways to educate folks about the opportunities that exist within
Yeah.
tech for people of color, right? Like these opportunities are there, but they are not well communicated, they're not well understood, and that's on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to work against that and really like basically make accessibility right a top
Yeah.
concern. So
Yeah.
in 5 years, like I want to be able to say, I want to be able to point to the thing that I'm working on,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's my organization or another, but I want to be like intimately connected to it. And I want to be able to like transfer some of that I have been learning, right, and that I use on a daily for
Yeah.
that purpose. So
Mm.
it's 5 years in a long time. You should be able to make that
Mm.
work. So
Yeah, for sure. So then 10 years from there, are you looking to, because it sounds like at some point you might want to start your own thing. So 10 years from now, are you fully, because back in the day, your goal was to do some type of, diplomat type of work. So do you ever see yourself turning back to that maybe 10 years from now or something like that?
I think within 10 years, I'll be in a place where I feel empowered to show up more publicly,
Yeah.
like to basically like stand and shout.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm having conversations in the room, but I'm not like everybody. Listen up! I got a message. I need you to be here on this date, and
Right.
we are going to start some shit. Like I am. I feel like in 10 years, like I will be comfortable and very like capable. I feel like I'm capable today, but like
Yeah,
I will have a lot of experience to look back on in 10 years and say
definitely.
that's what I'm doing now. So
Yeah. No, that's cool. It seemed like a combination of those things is definitely in the future for you. Um,
yeah.
what about personally? Do you see yourself having kids or getting married or anything like that?
Uh, I think within 10 years, I'll probably have found the long term relationship that makes sense for me.
Mm-hmm.
I personally am not like really big on marriage. I'm 100% no on children. So like
Yeah,
I figured that out.
I'm a little bit there too. I don't know yet, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's never too late. So
yeah,
unless it is too late. But I do find yeah, I probably won't have kids. I will own a home. I will probably, have some sort of a like legal something with
right,
somebody, right? Like
yeah,
I want to be able to protect myself and us in a
yeah,
way. And so
definitely.
if you don't have protection under the law, as a as a couple,
Yeah, married couple, yeah,
right, then you lose out on a lot of rights
mm-hmm.
that are afforded to people, right, who are in like, more traditional relationships. And so
Yeah,
you got to protect that. So I think within 10 years, I'll have found a way to make that work.
got you. And then, do you see yourself moving back to the East Coast, Virginia or New York?
I think that'll happen within 5 years.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna head back. I think it might be time.
All right, that's cool. So then for 20 years, I like to do 20 years, and then I like to ask, like, what does retirement look like for you? Because something I've noticed is people won't usually just kind of have that typical retirement, moving to Florida, lounging all day, stuff like that. It's usually like, well, yeah, I'm gonna still end up coding, or I'm gonna still, I'm gonna be consulting, or I'm gonna, running my business, something like that. So, what does like for 20 plus years, and then like, what does retirement look like for you?
Um, I probably won't be coding anymore. I hope
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, but I will definitely be. I think I'll still find a way to use my voice.
Yeah.
Uh, I I think at that point I'll be able to just be like, go read my book.
Yeah.
Watch the
Yeah.
film I was in. Like I want to be. I want to continue to contribute
hmm
to the body of work that I so appreciate. So by that point, I'll be able to uh, I'll have opportunities. The opportunities will have come, and I will have taken them.
Yeah.
So, but to be really like super specific, like 20 years is a long time.
It is.
I have no idea, right? How it's going to look. I know
Yeah.
there's going to be some themes, right? There's going to be some themes, but
Yeah.
I don't really know.
No. All right, we just gonna have to check back and see. But no, I like when people tell me their goals, and it's like I could like based off your story by this point, I got a good sense of like you know the way you've moved and your mindset and stuff just based on what you've given me. So I can see you definitely like that's a passion of yours. Speaking out, advocating for others, creating those environments for people and everything. So I can definitely see you do something with that, and hopefully, connecting it to the tech in a way, however you can, and maybe inspiring other queer Black kids to get into this field and show them that you don't have to feel as isolated as I did when I went through my process and everything like that. So I think that'll be good, and I'm looking forward to seeing where you go with that and everything.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
For sure, for sure. So this last thing I usually like these last two I just kind of combine them. So what tips do you have for somebody? You have a good, a unique experience, so you could give tips on somebody that's constantly having to relocate. You could give tips to somebody that's in your, a queer Black person that's, maybe feeling invisible, feeling isolated. Tips for somebody that might have had to change, they're in a major right now and I don't know if this major is for me. You have a good experience. So what tips would you have for somebody? And then I want to get like your parting words or, anything you want to plug or something like that.
Um, be present.
Hmm.
Be present. I
Yeah.
think if you are present, like it will answer a lot for you. Dwelling in the past, ideating on the future, I think
Hmm.
they have their uses, but if you are present, you don't miss opportunities. You see them. And if you're present, you will continue to learn because you are actually like internalizing what you're hearing. You're not thinking about the next thing, right? You're there for the moment. So you actually absorb it and internalize it. So, and then it's about curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity and interest. So it's not to say, follow your passion. Maybe you want to be an artist and you won't make any money. And I hate when people say that. They're like, follow your passions. I think you should definitely lean into what excites you.
Yeah.
And you can find a way. There will always be a way to put that together with whatever your life plan is, whatever you decide. So never feel like you're stuck. Like just recognize that there's always somewhere to go after this.
Mm-hmm. Nah, that's good. That's some good advice. Be present. I like how you put that, because I'm one of those people. I'll be too far in the future. I'm looking too much at like. One thing I had to focus on. I wrote a whole project about this. The theme of that one was like bearing the fruits of my labor and just enjoying this moment that I'm at, because there was times where I wanted to get here, and I'm constantly thinking about what's next. I'll do something. I'm like, what's next? What's next? I'm just sit in this moment. Like you said, that's where the opportunities are going to come. It's like when you're being present. So I like how you put that. All right. Yeah. So do you have anything you want to plug? Any organizations? Any websites or anything like that?
So I've been working a lot with a group called Dream Bash World, and that project is the love child of Seth Smith, who's a colleague of mine, and also just has become a friend. That organization or that group puts together events right now within Southern California. And they're really targeted to like Black nerds who want to be like loving their anime and enjoying their music, like whether it's Afro beats, like R&B, like all of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mash it all together, and then you throw in the video games, so me running tournaments for them, I'm really loving that project. And there are other facets to that work too, like whether there are like live like talks that are organized. But yeah, I see that as a lane right now that is really like is trending in a good direction, and I'm very happy to have attached myself to that.
Got you. So yeah, I can just give me the name one more time. I could throw it up on the screen.
It's Dream Bash World.
Dream Bash World.
Yeah, and so that's their tag. And Dream Bash is just like more or less like what they use as their name.
Got you. Okay, nah, that's cool. I'm gonna plug it up there and everything. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's it. You got any like final words or anything?
Hey, thank you for doing this, like asking me to be here. Like this work is really important, and I appreciate the fact that you have a genuine interest in doing this, and like coming into a space like this, like you have like really good questions, and you are you're very engaged with this, and so I feel really good to have worked with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Man, you just made my night with that. Wow. Sheesh. Thank you. So like, as I do genuinely care about this. So for you to recognize that, it really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you taking this time out. I know we on like completely different time zones and everything. So it really means it means the world to me when people take their time out to just come talk to me pretty much. So like, I've enjoyed your journey and everything. I'm looking forward to see where you go from here for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so my fault. See, I done got carried away. That's been another episode of the My Tech Story interview series. That's it. Y'all be safe.
Baby, at the happy hour. Bring your jacket, cause the bars get cold, 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 cold. It's feeling like a happy hour. Now I've been working hard for all I know. Playing just a song. Let me get the rum with the cold.